Apyayantu mamangani vakpranaschakshushrotramatho balamindriyani cha sarvani sarvam brahma upanishadam aham brahma nirakuryam mama brahma nirakarot anirakaranamastvanirakaranam me astu तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्माः ते मयि सन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. In this Upanishad from the Samvāda, in this Upanishad called Chāndogya, we have been walking in company of Sanat-kumāra and Nārada, two greats. Even though Nārada comes to Sanat-kumāra in a state of sorrow, a state of despondency, a state of much despair, no one can deny the greatness of Rishi, Devarshi Nārada. He is extremely eminent. He is endowed with numerous divine qualities. And yet, yes, we must admit, when he meets Sanat-kumāra, he is quite miserable, for he hasn't apparently taken that quantum leap from duality to non-duality, from Jiva Bhava to Brahma Bhava. When Nārada submitted a long list of the subjects he had mastered, Sanat-kumāra said, all this is just name. By name, what is meant is just by getting some functional knowledge of various subjects, you don't go really very far, especially from the point of view of finding lasting peace. Nārada was startled to hear that all his studies were only just name, and he is eager to know more. That's how from Nama to Vak, from Vak to Manaha, then Sankalpaha, and so on, we have been saying, Sanat-kumāra opens the doors, opens the avenues to explore as many as 15 factors, each of them meant for upasana. Each of them is to be worshipped, adored, respected, and so on, implying if only you and I recognize their value, we rise in consciousness. In this world, many people remain small people. Their views are narrow. Their concerns are very little. I, me, my family, my food, my clothes, my shelter, and so on. Then there are people who think big, people who care for larger number of their own fellow beings, who in whatever they touch achieve much larger goals. So this upasana is a way to rise in consciousness. It is to grow from being a petty, small human being to somebody who is eminent, who thinks big, and which doesn't mean he becomes arrogant or proud or thinks of himself higher than others. That's a different matter. Some may, some may not. But what is being talked of is the tapping of our own hidden potential. Therefore, if you look at the last two or three factors which Narada received from Sanat-kumāra for Upasana, we had done Tejaha, Akashaha, and Smaraha as 11, 12, and 13. Tejaha is light, Tejaha is fire, Tejaha is heat, Tejaha is brilliance, and we must aspire for being brilliant. Akashaha, we must value space, physical space, psychological space. Then, by adoring space, we ourselves also expand. And in the last class, we took up the 13th teaching of Sanat-kumāra in this section or in this portion of the 15 upasanas. Then Sanat-kumāra has something more to say, another 8 factors, and the matter is not exactly upasana, but it's a bit different. We'll see it in 2 classes. That is next to next class. That set of 8 open up. But in this set of 15, everywhere it is said upasva, adore. Not just upasva, Brahma iti upasva. Look at it as though that is the ultimate. Look at it as though there is nothing beyond it. That means with your head and heart, you must pursue that particular factor. So the one that we saw last class, smaraha, is memory. Among many people who study many things, there is always a small number who remember and remember at the right time. As you know, in Mahabharata, Karna was cursed to forget certain mantras which are behind certain astras, certain weapons which gather strength by reciting mantra. And he forgot those mantras when he needed them the most. Fighting with Arjuna, his own life was in danger. That is when Karna needed those astras and the mantras behind the astras. But going by Parashurama's curse, exactly then he forgot them. And Karna's death, as all of us know, is one of the saddest moments in the story of Mahabharata. For otherwise he was extremely worthy, very generous, Dana Shura Karna. Imagine you and I also suffer from loss of memory, especially when something is badly needed in discharging our responsibilities, our duties, in maintaining good relationships, in a whole lot of functional details. Even if you are running a charitable organization, social service organization, a religious organization, you are running an ashram, we find many times it is very important to remember things at the right time. In a certain non-profit organization where I was present for a little while, one of our colleagues committed a blunder. A lady from Mumbai was supporting our work, some service to villages and so on, and she visited our center a number of occasions, flying all the way from Mumbai to a city in North India. And every time she came, she would sit with us, share her thoughts, and make wonderful, really generous donations to the village school we were running, the village hospital we were running, and women empowerment that we were into, etc. a very, very good lady, elderly lady. And coming to the crux of the matter, every time she had come, she was expressing great concern about her ailing mother back in Mumbai. And then one day we got her email saying her mother had passed away. Fine, everybody has to die. And for that mother, perhaps it was some relief because she was suffering from some ailment. Now comes the example for memory. After another 2 months or so, one of our colleagues, who was otherwise very dynamic, very good, very energetic, everything, called that lady in Mumbai on phone, inquiring how things are, and one sentence slipped from his mouth. By the way, how is your mother doing? That lady was so shocked. He said, I had communicated to Swami Chidananji and you and couple of others in your center. My beloved mother passed away 2 months ago. She didn't say all this on the phone. She just must have said, oh, she is no more. But after putting the phone down, she was quite bitter. These people running a non-government organization claiming to be service-minded, and I helped them so much, and such a major event in my life, my mother passed away. I had written emails, and both he, I, and couple of others had even replied to that email, expressing our condolences and so on. But on that occasion, this gentleman completely forgot and said, "By the way, how is your mother doing?" And that lady was very disturbed. But generous and kind-hearted that she was, she continued to support us for some more time. Then we don't know. She disconnected for some other reason. So the point is, without delaying more, entering the next factor, smaraha, memory is of great value. Whether it was Dana Shura Karna, the Mahabharata war, or an executive in a service organization, if one doesn't remember things at the right time, it can have sad consequences. Therefore, know the value of memory. And in all these, by adoring, by recognizing their value, what happens is our life changes. After all, a well lived life is where we do what are important things and do not waste time on unimportant things. I feel tempted to make a remark. These days, a large number of people spend hours on checking WhatsApp messages. They are glued to the videos and other things that come to them on the smartphone. Other day, even my barber said, there are 7 or 8 barbers at a place where I go for cutting my hair. And he was alone when I went. I said, where are the others? And he expressed resentment, anger, and said, oh, all of them, they don't get up early. I woke open the saloon at 8 o'clock, and these people come at 9:30. And then I said, oh, okay, they get up late. The modern younger generation. Yeah, what they do is up to night, 1:30, they were checking messages on their mobile, he said. He blamed other younger barbers of his center, which is a kind of a chain in Mumbai. Said all of them have lost their balance in life because of giving undue importance to what comes to you on WhatsApp and other media. I guess a lot of young people are into Instagram. They are addicted to Instagram and then Facebook sometime before. There are many. Difficult to really stay abreast of all of them. I'm mentioning this, let me make it clear. Otherwise, some of you may imagine that was a diversion. No. You give importance to your smartphone. Sanat-kumāra would say to you, smartphone ma upasva. Don't do upasana of smartphone. Up to 1:30 a.m. you are checking again something more and trying to be very prompt in replying that. What a topsy-turvy situation. At least once it is night 10:30, suspend all these, and if you are sleeping at 11, let the last half an hour be for upasana as prescribed by the scriptures. Like these factors, or nowadays the popular upasana, sit down and do a few malas of Om Namah Shivaya, Shiva Upasana, Omkara Upasana. So unknowingly, you and I are already into a lot of upasanas of useless things, spending a lot of time on gadgets, on newspapers, on television, or our own memories, worries, going on worrying about something. This is all upasana, but in the wrong area. And Sanat-kumāra leads us to upasana of right factors which make us grow from being small human beings to big people. Once more, big people not to seek fame and name, but a certain sense of satisfaction. My life finally has blossomed. Who doesn't want one's life to blossom? And who on earth wants one's life to be shrunk? None of us wants to be like a cloud that doesn't rain. None of us wants to be like a bud that doesn't open up. None of us wants to be a flower that has no fragrance. After all, it's a very genuine human aspiration. So, all these upasanas are meant to help us realize what is genuine in us, not some false conditioning, not something borrowed without much attention. Now we go to the next section where it is the 14th. There are 15 factors, as we already said, and today, this evening in India, and this morning in the West, we are going to take up the last but one out of the 15, which means the 14th factor. And let's see the first title slide at this moment. And the title slide highlights that short sentence, upasva. So what is the 14th item to be adored? Kayena, vacha, manasa. Adoration has to happen on 3 levels. If you adore and only talk about it, there was somebody who gave wonderful speeches on the evil of smoking. He spoke very well. He had a lot of information, PowerPoint slides, this, that. But typically after every lecture, he would go into this green room or some inside place and ask for a cigarette. Then you are doing only vacha. There is nothing manasa, there is nothing kaya or kayena. So, know the importance of desiring. Elsewhere, desire is called an evil. Kama esha, krodha esha, rajoguna, samudbhavaha, mahashanaha, mahapapma, vidhi enam iha vairinam, says Sri Krishna. You may say, but the word kama hasn't come here. Asha. Let me tell you, we draw from Shankara Bhashya. I will read that line in a minute. Shankara Bhashya says, Asha here is same as what is called kama at other places. Of course, kama not for some mere sense pleasure. It is desiring to open up, desiring to blossom, desiring to discover our hidden potential. not in terms of making money or becoming famous, but in terms of a certain sense of, here I am. I am no more narrow. I am no more held back by my own complexes. I am no more afraid. I am no more a coward. I am no more lazy. I am no more caught in contradictions. Because all this is what prevents us from blossoming. Once we blossom, let me say one last time, we really don't have to care for how much money we get and how much place, position, name, and fame. If we are, as many poets have said, if we are like a flower which is behind a leaf on a forest path, giving out its fragrance, and passengers, travelers walking by that path are not even able to see the flower, but they enjoy the fragrance. That's enough. The flower doesn't get recognized, but the flower which has blossomed and is giving out its fragrance has opened up, has reached a certain, it is what probably somebody like Abraham Maslow calls self-actualization. Because you always had a hunch, you always had you know, a feeling inside. I am much better than what I now perceive myself to be. I have much more capacity, and I just want to express that capacity. The bud in the forest becomes a flower, expresses itself, and hundreds of people during that day passing below that tree were very delighted, but nobody knew where it was coming from. That's fine. So you and I should not bother about money, name, or fame, but Asham Upasya. They have an aspiration. Masters like Swami Chinmayananda unhesitatingly praised setting high goals. Then there are other masters and mystics who spoke on a very, very high plane where a lot of people perhaps would not connect, but they were right in their own way. They said, have no goal in life. That's a different context. That's very high level of you know approaching the topic. Any goal, any ideal you set, they said could and will in good likelihood distort your psyche. That's a different idea. But Pujya Swami Chinmayananji, you can hear it in many of his lectures. That higher the goal, more you will grow. Both are right on different levels. The levels are as simple as this. When you and I are on a certain level, where when there is no direction, no goal, we tend to slip into laziness, not just laziness, a whole lot of self-censure, Atma-ninda. Every day we take our hand to our head. I don't know. Another day was such a useless day. I neither did anything which I wanted to do, nor allowed anybody else to do those things. I'm more a burden. Negative thoughts come to us at a certain level. But then those other mystics who talked about having no goal at all, they address a different potential in you and me. The same lazy person lagging behind, laid back as they call, does have sometimes certain moments when that person, she or he, realizes that there is already peace. You don't have to get peace by arriving at some position, by achieving something. So if one has moments of that kind of insight, yes, such a person should remain in what we call just alert awareness. But this mantra is for the vast majority of people for whom that kind of living free of any goal move around with no particular plan as such is not within their reach. Vast majority of people want desire, hope. I would translate with another word, aspiration. You want to aspire. Swami Chinmayananda himself, even when Tapovan Maharaj tried to discourage him, aspired to go to the plains from the Himalayas, where he was studying with Swami Shivananda and later with Swami Tapovanam. He aspired to be like Ganga. He said Ganga is born on the Himalayan peaks but flows to the south from Himalayas, and blesses humanity along its journey. I have the aspiration. That was Asha. And he repeatedly requested Swami Tapovanam, his guru, for permission, which he finally got. Then rest is history, as we call. I'm doing this class this evening from Pune. And it was in this city of Pune in December 1950 that Swami Chinmayananji gave his first lecture as part of his 4 decades of missionary work. And then nobody could stop him. So he had an aspiration. Message of Vedanta, the message of Gita, the message of Sanatana Dharma should reach maximum number of people, not of 10 or 20, 100 or 200. So he had Asha. That is Asha, an aspiration to see the potential for a good cause, and you begin to dream, and then you don't leave any stone unturned to fulfill that dream. Let's take a quick look at this moment at Shankara's commentary before we go to the first slide also. Ashavava smarad bhuyaha. The previous section talked about smara, memory. The present section, 14 in this 7th chapter, is asha. First of all, asha is, Shankara explains, aprapta vastu akanksha. You want akanksha, a vastu, something, aprapta, which is not with you now, which you don't already have. Then Shankaracharya surprises us by giving such synonyms with which initially at least we would be uncomfortable. He says asha is trishna, a thirst. And then kamaha, already I talked about it. Kama is a bad word elsewhere, but not the first, second or third, 14th, very high, on a very high level or on a very deep consideration. Sanat-kumāra is prescribing asha. And that asha is no other than Krishna, no other than Kamaha. Asha Trishna Kamahiti Yam Ahu Paryayahi. Paryaya means synonym. Saja Smarad Bhuyasi. Because asha is a feminine noun by grammar, we don't say Bhuyaha, but Bhuyasi. And Shankara himself explains, which is put in the first mantra. Let's go to the second slide now, which presents the first mantra. Ashavava smarad bhuyasi. How? Asheddaha. Iddaha is well translated in English by, I would use the word, fueled. You know, indhana. Indhana means fuel. Iddaha is the past passive participle of the root involved there. Fueled by. Swami Gambhirananda uses a modest word, enthused by. Getting enthusiastic by the asha, by hope. By hope. Asheddaha means ashaya iddaha. You know, samiddaha. Samiddaha, iddaha means equivalent. You pour some oil, you bring some dry leaves and make a little fire, grow to a bigger fire. That is iddaha. Ashaya iddaha smaraha mantran adite. You and I may have some memory, but that memory doesn't really awaken. That memory doesn't really get into full flow. We remember in parts, we remember maybe a little bit. But if there is an aspiration, Asha is in us, then memory opens up in full steam. We remember many things. You can imagine, let's say, somebody like Dhirubhai Ambani had an Asha of more and more enterprises, and more challenges he faced, more his memory worked. He said, oh, if this is a challenge, wait a minute. I know this man in Delhi. I will take his help. I know this lady in Mumbai. I know this company in Hyderabad. Memory works. And you and I also are inspired by some plan. Then our memory works so well, we are set to move heaven and earth to get that desire fulfilled. That's the meaning. Smaraha mantran adite. The tragedy of modern day Hinduism is a large number of Hindus do not know what is possible through japa, through puja, through regular yogasana, pranayama. They do not know the great benefits of learning Veda mantras. They do not know the wonderful benefits of performing Agnihotra daily. Many of them don't even know the words. Whereas if one knows and then gets the hope and aspiration, desire, hey, I must do this now every day. I must do it and I must grow inwardly. Then many memories come. Because I talked about Vedika karma. One of you, suppose he is inspired to do some Vedika karma daily, some ritual, then your memory will wake up. You will say, wait a minute, I don't have to search anywhere else. In my own home at the native place, my grandfather has left behind some books. Next week, anyhow, I'm going to my native place. I'll pick up those books, and so on. Many people have revived or reconnected to their roots by looking for material in their own old homes, and they do find. Smart, I'm saying how memory works. So till then, till he was inspired, this man would not have thought about what could be in the attic of his old home. Grandfather had kept a few things, or his mother or father had kept a few things. But when the memory awakens, and when will memory awaken? When there is that desire. Without any delay, I want to do this Agnihotra. And my father, I think, had kept a book by some Ramakrishna Mission author on Agnihotra, how to do memory. Then he collects it, then he studies it, then he goes to somebody, then learns the exact way to perform Agnihotra, Sandhya Vandana, some other karma. Karmani kurute, says the mantra. And then the context is not, moksha shastra only. In life, coming upon greater fulfillment. Putransya pashunsya ichate. Wants more and more children or disciples, students, associates. Swami Shimananji was like that even when he was in his, I met him when he was 65. The age where I am now. When I met him first time, he was 65. When we parted, he passed on, he was 77. So 13 years of association. And one memory I can share with you is about which I had a little conflict also at certain times, but now I appreciate it. He was so full of the dream of getting maximum number of people to study Vedanta. In 1991, January or so, he made me Acharya of his center and sent me to some 12 cities in the country to select brahmacharis and brahmacharis. And in Chennai, I interviewed 5 people and could not really decide whether to take them or not. 5 people, 5 boys, they came. I questioned them, made some jottings, and without deciding whether to take them or not, I said I'll decide by afternoon. I have made the jottings. Really, I was not impressed with those boys. Those boys did not seem to be really interested in spirituality. That day, by coincidence, Pujya Gurudev was there in a house, Leela Nambiar's house. So I rushed there after the interviews were over, maybe at about 12 o'clock or so, and he asked me how many had come. I said 5 boys had come. And I made a face. I did not show much happiness. Without caring for what face I made, without worried about the numbers. It was not a large number. I can never forget. He roared. Everybody in the hall could hear in that house. Take all 5 of them. Before even I could say that they were not impressive, he said, take all 5 of them. That is called Putran Ichate, Pashun Ichate, Imam Chalokam, Amum Chalokam Ichate, all for a good cause. So till his last breath, Swamiji was aspiring to do his work on a higher scale. In the corporate world, they call it scaling it up. Somebody opens a restaurant, then opens 5 branches, then opens branches in many cities. That is called scaling the business up. So scaling up is possible if you have asha. Without asha, without kama, without trishna, without dreaming, you won't be living an energetic life. You won't be able to surmount the obstacles. Therefore, asham upasva. Now, in the last slide, Nārada, as before, asks a question. Obviously, he was very excited, and while he was really impressed by the prospect of asha, as before, he asks in the third slide. This, I guess, is we are still at the second slide. In the third slide, let me also quickly see. Adi Shankara says, Asha is in our Antakarana. It is in us, but we have not awakened it. Awaken Asha, it will awaken Smara. Smara will awaken appreciation of Akasha, then you will appreciate Tejaha. In other words, the successive factors will make possible the realization of previous factors. We are going to study prana in our next class. Prana is being lively. Prana is being energetic. Prana is being alive. The sad story of humanity is 99.9% of people, to use a rather harsh language, are not alive at all. They are dead. They are so mechanical. They drag themselves to their office. And first thing they do after reaching their office in some places is, can we get some tea? Not worked at all. They want to while away their time. They look at the wall clock many times. And 5 o'clock they have to leave. At 4 o'clock itself, they have closed all the files, put it aside, waiting for 5 o'clock. So that is one of the examples of worst office. I'm not saying all offices are like that, But a lot of people, they don't live energetically. So prana comes later. But before prana, let's see the third slide now. In the third slide, we have Nārada asking. Before that, the usual praise of Asha. Again, it disappeared one. Let's see the third slide. The first one. Saya Asham Brahma iti upaste. One, whoever among us take Asha to be Brahma. That means we have no conflict of our desire. Rather, we are inspired by a vision, a desire, an aspiration, and then we go headlong into it. Ashaya asya sarve kamaha samruddhyanti. Once there is a overarching desire, a number of other connected desires will all get nourished and nurtured. Amogaha ha asya ashishaha bhavanti. Then that inner blossoming of the person is such that whatever that person wishes will come true. Ashishaha, amoga. Moga means in vain. Amoga means not in vain. You desire to build a couple of hospitals, there you are. Hospitals come in a record time. You want to build schools. You want to build more spiritual centers. You want to do something for some earthquake victims, some flood victims. You want to do something for children, something for middle-aged people, something for teenagers. Ashisha. It could be in other fields in some other way. Somebody wants to write books. I guess Pandit Ram Sharma of that Gayatri Parivar, he wrote so many books. So many books. And we wonder how he wrote so many books. Or in the West, we have Deepak Chopra, young man who did MBBS, I guess, in India, then went and did MD or something he did, was in the Harvard Medical School. And then he had a certain asha. He was a disciple for some time of Maharshi Mahesh Yogi. He learned some transcendental meditation. He experienced certain peace, certain joy, certain expansion of consciousness within himself, and nothing could stop him. Deepak Chopra is so well known around the world now because Ashisha Amogaha Bhavanti. He would desire, I should write a book on how we can remain young. And one of his early books, which made a lot of news was Ageless Body, Timeless Mind. That must have sold in millions of copies in English, in French, in so many languages. So he dreamt of a certain book. Yes, if we meditate, if we live rightly, at a cellular level, he was after all a internist and medically qualified person. He would use that language. At a cellular level, aging will not happen. To remain young. So that time itself, and YouTube, those clips are still there. Oprah Winfrey was very young black woman, a famous anchor of television shows. And Deepak Chopra was very young, maybe 36 or 38, 40 maximum. And Oprah interviews Deepak Chopra. His face is beaming with confidence. And he then wrote many books. Quantum Healing. The titles of the books also are fascinating. Of course, everybody like him, are criticized also. There are people who say it became very commercial. Let's not go into criticism that these people receive. But look at the work. Ashishaha amogaha bhavanti. The hopes and desires and wishes become fulfilled. Yavadashaya agatam. Tatra asya yatha kamacharo bhavat. So this asha, that means we are fueled by, we are enthused by, we are inspired by a certain vision. Sky is the limit. And the literal translation is it has a lot of scope and you will be able to go freely, move freely. Yata kamachara is free movement. Nothing stops you. You go everywhere, either physically or symbolically, and you achieve things. I had to add either physically or otherwise. Someone like Sri Ramakrishna physically did not go places, but he fulfilled his dream. 12 great disciples came, and many other householders also came. Today we have Ramakrishna mission spread across the world. Swami Tapovan also did not desire, to go physically anywhere. He was from Kerala. I think he did not go to Kerala at all in the last 20 or 30 years of his life. Either was in Uttarkashi or was in um, that's Gangotri. Gangotri and Uttarkashi. Between these two, Tapovan moved. Whereas his disciple Chinmaya went all over the world. So, Yatha Kamachara means once you blossom, then there is a certain scope and nothing prevents you from exploiting that scope of work. Ashaya vava bhuyo asti. Asti bhagava ashaya is the question. And Sanat-kumāra says, yes, there's only one more factor now. And Nārada says, Tanme Bhagavan Ravitu iti. Please, may the Venerable Sir tell me that. That is how in the next class we will go to the 15th or the last one of the set of 15. A sentence from Shankara Bhashya. Adi Shankara says, Ashaya iddaha, Ashaya abhivarditaha, smarabhutaha. There is memory, but when there is a vision, that memory gathers strength. And the traditional interpretation of this mantra is Rik Adin Mantrang Adite. A young boy who otherwise had no desire, somehow he gets the desire. Somehow he then remembers, oh, so many people in my family were Vedic scholars, and I think I can do better than them. There is a certain excitement. Then Mantrang Adite. Adhitya cha tadartam brahmanebhyaha vidinsya shurtva karmani kurute. So he does karma also. So these are from the Shankara Bhashya, which throw more light on the power of Asha. And yes, before we conclude, I'll pick one line from the next section, which I will pick up next time also. Shankara looks back and looks ahead and then makes a comment. Nama upakramam asha antam. Talking of the 14. Starting with Nama, ending in the 14th, that is asha. Karya karanatvena. The successive one is the karana, the previous one is the karya. Successive one is the cause, the previous one is the effect. Then nimitta naimittikattvena. There also nimitta and naimittika. One more way of expressing cause and effect. Something that facilitates. In today's discussion we saw, if there is an inspiring dream, then that becomes the nimitta, and memory flaring up, memory going to a larger scope becomes the naimittika. So uttarottara bhuyastaya avastitam smriti nimitta sadbhavam asha rashana pashe vipashitam sarvam sarvato visamiva tantu vir yasmin prane samarpitam. He says all of them finally are possible if there is this mysterious deep energy of yours, which is called prana. Therefore, you and I should do pranayama. Pranayama looks like just breathing exercise, but it is connected to deeper levels of our being. And yes, it is superficially just breathing exercise. But this breathing exercise, starting with Anuloma Viloma or something very simple, it can activate your whole personality. It can bring new energy into whole personality. Prane Samarpitam. And he uses, with this will conclude, Yena cha sarvato vyapina. Prana actually is not just in the breath. Sarvato vyapi. Prana is in the entire existence of ours. From the tips of our toes till the hair upon our head. Sarvato vyapi prana. Antar bahirgatena. There is prana outside also. And prana in us. And they are connected. Sutre manigana haiva. Sutrena gratitam vidritancha sayesha prano va ashaya bhuyam. Prana is higher because like a thread holds so many precious stones together on it in a necklace. Likewise, for heaven's sake, for your life to be truly meaningful, awaken your prana. Adore your prana. Be a person in whom the prana is like a fire that is blazing. Then rest of it will happen. So the 15th one reaches a kind of a peak, a crescendo as we call it. We will see that in the next class. Om Namah Paramarshibhyo Namah Paramarshibhya.